Miyake, but approached discreet on the 7-day backup, roaring clear, and brings his first race over 1.5 miles.
It's Racecourse Road GTT. Command and Conquer lifting late. Racecourse Road. Here's Command and Conquer. He gets up.
The back naughty by nature. Tollman strikes the lead though from Sophie Song. It's the great Tollman. Tollman for whom the bell tolls.
Bivouac who explodes. Bivouac with a powerful display. Oh, what a spectacular win. Dominant 4-lengths Nature's Grip.
G'day, punters. Welcome to a Cup Week debrief of a deep dive. It's been a big week. It's been pretty outstanding. There's been a bit for everyone. There's been heaps going on. We'll talk about a lot of stuff, both on and off the track. But first, let's introduce Jack Dickens, who's somewhere in the middle of the Victorian outback. Got his swag, no doubt. He's joining us.
Sun's out. It's
Link.
a beautiful, beautiful day here in Victoria. For a bloke who made a lot of mistakes, Dan Andrews has given us, what is it now, Josh? Like 8 in a row or something? 0?
10, I think we're up to like
we're back.
10, and the international raiders are asking for what the secret herbs and spices are.
Secret herbs and spices. Why don't you explain to the punters at home your secret herbs and spices that you delivered to yourself on Saturday in quarantine? Was Carlene there with you or just in the same hotel?
No, just in the same hotel. We've got Pike next door as well. There's been a lot of noise, actually. A lot of kids running around. It's not ideal, but, it's good to have the whole Wester's Best team back on board. I think Rick Taylor's probably, down the corridor as well. We're all back, raring to go. Perth Carnival, here we are. Secret herbs and spices. Yeah, no. So I've done the double, the KFC for 3 meals in a row on Friday night, Saturday midday, and then Saturday night, while cracking a bottle of Italian Prosecco and just launching at things at Ascot. I can highly recommend it for those punters who couldn't really give a shit about Sydney racing because it was awful and the tab was broken and they cut half the runners of scratch because they thought it was heavier than what it was. And then you're looking at Flemington going, I haven't done any form. I'm just going to follow blindly what, Dicko fires off. And then Curls is just winning no matter what happens anyway. It was a bloody good way to spend a Saturday when I couldn't get out. It's probably my last Saturday in the bunker for a few months. Can't wait.
You are one of the rarest units I've ever encountered. Prosecco into heated up Colonel is just so interesting. But it worked because you bet outstanding on Saturday. Well done.
Yeah. Well, we'll also welcome Freddie Mercury now with a Mercedes Toowoomba sponsorship.
Morning, afternoon, what time of day it is. What an eclectic mix of form analysts we have here. Dicko's just finished Cup week and looks like he actually looks like he's just about to embark on trying to find the colt that escaped from Old Regret. Snowy's there somewhere. What a get up.
Well, it's hot here now. And I got the rig out yesterday for literally 45 minutes and I've cooked myself. Had to get the aloe vera out straight away, day one.
What a sport.
What's with the hat? Have you jagged another sponsorship?
Yeah. Well, it was good enough for CJW to get around spruiking the sponsorship of Mercedes-Benz and, Tommy and all the boys there. Mercedes-Benz Parramatta. I thought I'd slip down to Mercedes-Benz Toowoomba and sort of try and angle the same in. They gave me a hat.
They gave you a hat, and also, are you now a board member of New South Wales Trainers Association?
Oh, gee whiz. Where do we start there? There was a redaction I read on Twitter. There was a redaction from the chairman to say that story that was written was taken out of complete context. We will look back at this time in racing and look back at the people that were in charge of Racing New South Wales, Tabs, Sky Media, etc., of the people that drove the sport into the ground and divided the sport. Crazy some of the shit that comes out of there.
Yeah.
Would not be one bit surprised if Putin, Kim Jong-un and a few others are looking at how they manage their messaging from New South Wales and replicate that across their dictatorships also.
Yeah,
Well,
what not to do.
Yeah.
Like, how's the continual? Every time they talk, they then reference how strong the Everest is. Yeah, it's a great sprint race. It's a very rich race, so you get the best spinners in Australia. You still had like Eduardo in the race, so I'd stay calm. It's a great reference. But every other race you put on, the Bondi, they are a disgrace. The figures they run a poo. The form out of them's atrocious. So one race is outstanding, but the rest of it's shit. I think Flemington Victoria just needs to keep rising above, hoping that one day everyone realises that we need to work together and they are the big dog, Racing Victoria. They've put on another week of outstanding racing with no crowds, but it's just 4 days of bliss. Again, the track raced perfectly. I still don't know what the bias was, if there was one. And I'll spend like every day trying to figure it out. I think there was a sad little spray from, the little brother. It was pathetic.
And that's coming from a former New South Welshman.
Yeah, I'll probably still consider myself a New South Welshman. But it was embarrassing. Do you not agree? It's just like,
It's unnecessary.
but it was ridiculous as well. Fuck, like,
We'll also welcome this new gentleman to the show, Josh Kadlec-Cavanagh, freshly shaven, out of Cup week into the summer sling. How are you going?
Yep, feeling good, feeling fresh. Just got back from a tan run, did a PB without all the extra hair, gear change, beard off first time, floor around.
Oh, if we did a tan run like today, how far is it?
It's 3.7 or something, one lap.
I'd have you like $1.40. Pete sort of. Actually, I'd back myself to beat Pete, and Curls and I and Pete would just have a really good battle for second.
Yeah, I'd run last for sure.
Well, you're the only one actually doing personal training, but Pete's drinking prosecco and heated up Colonel. So surely,
yeah, I reckon Kathy might have had that back in her day, prosecco and the bird before a big 400-meter race.
What a woman! She knew how to unite a country. She should be running racing in New South Wales.
Well, look, speaking of uniting a country, all 4 states to the mailbag. I'm proud of you guys and Rob Scurry as well. We all won. Everyone, like as individual units, we won. As a collective, we won. We just won. Everyone won. It was great. So I hope everyone who jumped on board for the week enjoyed it. It was, I guess, challenging at times, but it was bloody outstanding to get a result. Dick, I'll start with you. Did you have a personal highlight on or off the track for the week?
I just reviewed everything. So it's mainly lowlights and frustrations and learnings. I'm really pissed off about the way I handled the Fair to Remember and Arcadia Queen yesterday or on Saturday. There should have been big results for us. I'm so sickened by Dennis Pagan and the Derby still, and the riders, every rider involved in that race. It's not a good story. It's a great story for racing in a way, but like Curls and I have been talking all week about the process. And we were looking, and you're always thinking about sort of ownership opportunities, but now maybe the go is just to try and get our training license. Because how fucking hard is it? Like, how hard can it be? Honestly, that makes me sick. As a Swan supporter too, Dennis, I was on Young Werther to win a lot of money, like a house deposit, and I love the Swans. So I don't like Dennis. I know everyone else seems to love Dennis. It still hurts. I was also on, because Young Werther happened to place on Saturday, despite the barrier trial tempo. I was then lucky enough with our friend James to have another bet rolling along, which was the Russian Camelot to place in the Melbourne Cup for another house deposit. And fuck me, if that horse didn't look like I was going to win at like the clock tower, and then I was roaring it to win, even though I wasn't even on really to win, then I thought surely it's going to place. It just stopped. Doesn't get the trip. So, it's a real different setup not being there. But I think we've made really good progress as a group, and we're sharing a lot of our intel with pricing and form analysis. We've improved heaps. We're really confident, like, going forward. But personally frustrated. I missed a lot of opportunities, like underbet September run on Derby Day. I've just reviewed that. Underbet the first winner on Oaks Day. Got scared of November Dreaming. We were so keen on that winner, whatever it was called. Might have been Simon Wild's horse.
Yeah, Charlie Rose. Charlie Rose.
Yeah, like fucking underbet that. But Oaks Day was fat. The big races shit me. Like, fuck, we backed Van Dyke, RIP, rest in peace. It's tragic to see it die, but I backed in the Caulfield Cup and ran second. Backed Armory and Russian Camelot in the Cox Plate, second and third. Backed Prince of Arran and the Tiger Moth in the Melbourne Cup, second and third. Torturous. We won, but I feel like I missed out on a lot of opportunities to win a lot more. Josh, how do you sort of think it went?
Yeah, it was pretty much the same for me. Different set of horses, but Melbourne Cup, I was strong on the 3-year-olds. So I was on the same with Russian Camelot, which was weird. Down the straight, coming down the straight, you were cheering Russian Camelot. I was also on Tiger Moth, and down the straight, Tiger Moth was in the, everyone says it's box seat, but it's probably more like box seat at Flemington. But at Caulfield and Moonee Valley Deluxe, that's definitely not the box seat. But it had time to get out. Winner was just incredible, like just a different horse this year. But yeah, like at the clock tower, you're cheering Russian Camelot, thinking that was going to be the one.
It's like that's the run that wins the race every year.
And then Tiger Moth sort of got out, and then was the one that was looking like cheering home. Like the ride and Prince of Arran, like you just got to throw it out to this horse again, like incredible. Like Charlie Fellows, I don't know. I don't know. It's the same run all the time though. It's sort of like Cascadian's been like a completely different horse, but Cascadian, like the mile, has been this prep, like flashes at the line every time. And it's just like runs honest races.
The Yulong thing?
Yeah.
Fucking on that too. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I thought Flemington was the go for that. But it's just one of those, like Prince of Arran, but like it can run on pace and then sort of like finishes off well. But like shit, it's just it's an impressive horse to like he just run in big races.
I feel sorry for Jay Carr. She's riding as good as anyone, and was given a really good opportunity, and they make split-second decisions, and she fucked it up. But she's made a lot of great decisions this spring for a long time. I know Pete's the number one ticket holder of her fan club, but she is a great rider. She's riding really well. If she stays and goes up the fence, I think she wins by fair way and quite comfortably. But unfortunately, she went, which was definitely like the safer play, was to get out and get going. But every other jockey, because it is a safer play and the less risky play, is doing the same thing, and there's traffic jam.
Yeah. Yep. Curls, personal highlight for yourself. You've spent 89.5 units, returned 97.45. There's a heap of betting for yourself over the last week. Did you have a highlight of the 8 days?
Yeah. My highlight on review was backing 3 odds on favourites that got fucked over, which was great. 50 to 70% margin on odds on favourites in Queensland's not enough. It should be 100%. Is what I've learnt, because they're fucking useless. Dennis Pagan was a highlight of the spring carnival in Melbourne for me, because he proved what I always thought, that you don't need any ability to be a horse trainer. You just need luck. I had Tiger Moth for 10,000 collect. That was me.
Oh,
that was a highlight. Yeah, and what else did I enjoy over the carnival? The 47 meetings that Queensland had on each day. Victoria had one or two. Doesn't it it thins it out so much when there's so many meetings? But I was happy to win. I think Derby Day basically was a really good winning day, and then the rest of the days were just sort of thing. So,
yeah.
What about speaking of highlights? We go on RSN with G Hall, great man, and Pistol's just throwing out fucking winner after winner after winner, and for whatever reason, like we're chatting away on Saturday morning, and I'm supposed to be on Arcadia Queen heavy. At what price?
$11.
Like with all the other shit we've been finding into it. There's a small chance that someone has got that on for me, but I don't think it has. I don't think they have. And then Pete's throwing out Battlestorm in the whatever, and then what's the other? What are these two other bets you've got going that I don't have any of for some fucking reason?
I've got Battlestorm and Stageman to win the Winterbottom now for enough.
Yeah, we're
and Pike's riding trekking. He's not even riding one.
If they win and Pete goes missing, the wheels will fall off pretty quickly here.
Pike's riding trekking in the Winterbottom.
Pike selected to ride trekking over the Bob Peters, Cerise and White. So
did he ride any Godolphin horses down here? He might have ridden a couple.
Yeah, I think he did from memory, but it's a bit of a surprise.
Wow. Eh? Big. Trouble in Paradise?
Surely not. Surely not. Okay, we've got to talk about the tab crash as well, because it was just bizarre the last 48 hours. I think that's the only way you can describe it. Their response from a media point of view, I think, was incredibly interesting. They've sent out 4 tweets through their official Twitter account, and that has really been the only information we've heard from the TAB, which is quite disturbing for the most part. Curls, I want to get your point of view on this first of all.
Yeah, look, interesting 4 tweets, which is no good for those that are blocked by the tab, which is me. Please unblock me. And while we're at it, Gator, could you unblock me as well, please, mate?
long may we block Curly.
Someone had a crack at the tab, and I just chimed in with that Leonardo DiCaprio clap meme because it was quite funny. And they blocked me for it. I don't care. There's not you have. In my opinion, there doesn't look to be one wagering person involved in the tab anymore. They're all spruikers. They're all media people. They're a lottery company. Their wagering arms pathetic. We've seen some.
Which joint does have a wagering person there?
They're the main source of funding for the racing industry. They've got to be better. They've racing participants and racing administrators should be demanding better of the tab to ensure that a lot of the majority of the turnover goes through them, so it goes back through to racing. They've sat idly by and watched it slowly fall off the wagon. And I don't know. There's a bit of carry on about what happened yesterday. That can happen to any organisation. Even my sets lose sometimes due to data breaches and power surges. It happens. The response, like you said, just a joke, really. The carry on, whatever else. But the thing that I enjoyed the most was the races getting put back because the tab was down.
Proving yet again that the industry is reliant and funded by wagering, and therefore the wagerers should be treated with more respect and priority. However, that's a fact, guys. No one's going to dispute that. But don't beat on about it, because nothing will ever change.
Ever.
Know your role. Shut your mouth. That's what they want us to do.
It's funny because as a company, tab, they increase their margins. One of their initiatives to increase their margins was to cut winning accounts back. So they increase their gross profit margin, or the omni-channel experience. It was called. Sorry. Effectively cutting accounts back, effectively restricting turnover, effectively restricting funding to the industry. So And while the racing administrators, sat by and pat them on the back, they're gone as an organisation. Their wagering arm will be broken off and sold off. The 2024 retail licence is going to, is going to be a pivotal point going forward, because even though it's a bricks and mortar business, the retail arm, it's a potential play for someone like Sportsbet or someone like that to come in and try and corner that market again. They already own the digital platform. They can increase the barrier to entry and, really knock around their competition if they go after that retail license in Vic as well. So,
I love the downhill skiing from some of the other plastics about the tab. I just like, there's always no one in this sport hasn't got a secret or a little bit of a issues they have to deal with from time to time, and I just loved how some of them just jumped straight on it and just whacked them when they were down. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Our friends at BetFair, who I bet with all week, just into them. It's like 2 weeks ago, Damien Ratcliffe wrote an article about you guys and fast feeds, and you uninvited him from an event. Like, fucking hell, unbelievable, just like unbelievable.
It's incredible what's happened with Tab Corp.
These tweets. It's like, if you in 5 years, unless you're going to go out and gamble on your own or create an income by yourself, you probably end up working for the Tab or for one of these joints who you're bagging. Unbelievable. I don't get it.
I won't be working there anyway.
It's incredible that a multi-million, billion-dollar business doesn't have a backup facility. I was reading an article this morning about their who hosts their servers, and basically they denied any fire, interruption or downtime at their servers. So it's like something's happened here.
You know what Ross?
It's internal.
Ross,
Russian.
They finished with the US election, the Russian hackers, and now they've moved on to the Tab.
Russian Camelot.
It is scary though. It'd be much more scary for us because we don't. Most of our wagering's done at BetFair. But there's so much money held there. Imagine if something went wrong. I suppose they have 2 or 3 backups, don't they? I think
BetFair would have servers. They're mainly their main servers in Ireland. So
I think there's 2 in Australia. So if
the Irish
City one goes down, it's like at Caulfield or something.
The Irish one would have sort of Aidan O'Brien's army around it, sort of thing, just guarding it. So they wouldn't be getting in there around Belfast area.
But, not to mention any potential privacy concerns, but that's a story for another day. But talking of wagering curls, and I mean, really, if there's been any advertisement about how good betting can be when you get money into a pool and you allow people to bet for whatever amount they want and how good it can be for stimulating an event, it was the bloody US election that was clearly the best part of the week. As we stand right now, there's 1.016 billion matched on the fair. And if racing administrators think that it's going to keep on going down its merry way and people are going to love racing, well, I'll tell you what, every time a horse breaks down in the Cup, there's a new generation of people that aren't going to be betting on our product and on our event that we love so much. And especially if you keep trying to make it harder for us to bet in the first place, just let us bet to the extent that we want to, unrestricted, as soon as markets go up, for fuck's sake. Josh, you would have been probably glued to the election markets as much as Curls and I was.
Mm.
It was unprecedented. It was amazing.
I love how there's still $1.04 there right now.
Yeah. That's what I found it interesting, that it's still $1.04 when the other day before he grabbed Pennsylvania, he was $1.09. It was just fascinating. And this is I sort of tell people, tell friends and family, this was what was happening during the election. And they probably think, I'm saying this is what the betting is. And they're probably no, there's no link behind it. It's just a betting market. But this is how the election was going. And if you you've got the graph out. Insane that he minimum odds were about $1.21. I reckon there was almost 1 million matched somewhere along the $1.21 to $1.30 line. Could have even been more. But incredible, that I just want to know the big players in these pools, who they are. Obviously, I don't know if the big players in Australia like Ciurleo and Katsaris are playing in it, but there has to be bigger operations overseas that have some real powerful things that are probably micro trading it like a financial market as well, because it's such a big liquidity, and they get a few ticks either way. And you could see back on Wednesday and Thursday, you could see how quick the market moved, and it was serious drops here and there. And then
it moved yesterday from $1.06 to $1.04. I reckon it was just on the back of a tweet with Biden running out. But like Donald Trump was speaking, and then Biden runs out to the Stone Cold Steve Austin glass smashing. He took over Twitter and he crunched.
And like the night before, after the election, it happened twice in a row, like 10 p.m. about Eastern Standard Time in Australia. And that's, when you look at that, that's like 4 a.m. in the US. And they stop. I'm assuming they stopped voting overnight, the counting of votes overnight. And it's like, who is this shark that's just taking the markets from one way to another? It happened the first night with Trump in the lead, and then it happened the other night with Biden in the lead. Just massive swings. Fascinating market.
I think you can also probably not discount that. I think the market base rate for the event was 5%. So most of those guys, would be something where 50 to 40% discount, I suppose, depending on where you live. So the cost of doing business on that event's cheap. There's no race field fees for BetFair to pay.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. Like if you're only paying 2.5%, as opposed to trying to trade, say, New South Wales Racing or NRL, which is a 10% market, it becomes more attractive. And I'm sure the $1.04. Well, this is my theory. I'm sure the $1.04 was there because it's a good exit position for people that are heavily invested and want to minimise the risk of, Trump's, fully packed Supreme Court ordering recounts and having that little bit of hesitation there. So it's a good trade out position if you've traded that event the whole way through and you're exiting out at $1.04.
We get to see how good Giuliani really is.
Well, it wasn't off to a great start
with Sasha's spring.
But
like you said, the press conference in front of the dildo shop, outstanding.
Yeah,
like you said in the intro of this segment, though, Pistol, it should be seen as a reminder that people will wager on cost-effective products and good events with volume.
Unfortunately, they've probably got about 15 to 20 years to sort their shit out, or the whole game's gone.
I hope that out of this though, BetFair realise how hard it is to trade things that people think they understand when there's great liquidity, and look to pump up liquidity however they can. I don't know the answer. So on things like AFL and more of the sports that are common in this country, because if there was more liquidity, I'll be watching more footy.
Yeah, but that comes down to being able to get on early. If you've got an early market, you can bet to win 10 grand. All of a sudden, you're trading that off earlier on the fair, and everyone's loving it. It's all about stimulation. It's all about just. So you think
it starts with the law and with the plastics?
Yep, 100%. It comes down to enforcing proper legislation onto these plastic, complete, non-existent, pretend betting organisations that will only allow you to bet early if you're capable of losing cash with them long term or even short term. If you allow people for unrestricted amounts as soon as markets go up, two things will happen. Either they'll go up early and back themselves in, and then people start trading off on the fair earlier, or markets will go up later, in which case there's going to be a massive feeding frenzy in the space of, the day of racing. Either way, it's good. But at least
I don't mind that model. The early markets do annoy me because
hate them.
There's the opportunities are only there for people that lose long term, and that's a great strategy for the current environment for the plastics. If it was free for all once the markets went up at 9 o'clock race day, you'd see a lot more liquidity, not just at the plastics and in the fair as well. It'd be huge.
Yeah.
You'd like
Yeah,
taking $3 Command and Conquer on Saturday for as much as you want, then laying it back at 188.
Dang, God, that was good. That was really enjoyable.
As an example only.
Perfect
But
example.
it's like what Curly's saying though. Like they make it impossible for the successful punter to bet on their sport, and they allow it through their the administration of the sport. And then they want to attract the victims, but on their biggest days, it's just a shit fight. So like the tab will go down, or a horse will die, or a jockey will break a rule that to a new person, like, or he broke the rule. Oh no, but it's just going to fine him 50,000. Like the new nuffy that they're trying to attract, we'll just switch straight off that and watch like the Origin.
Yeah.
I'll bet on that, or I'll bet on this. Like,
Well, unfortunately, what it comes down to is that racing is a wagering sport, but nobody wants to talk about gambling because there's perceived issues with gambling in society. And, you know, I mean, like, I'm sure we've all copped it at some point. You try and tell someone, what do you do for a living? Oh, I bet for a living. It's just like, so you're promoting gambling. You're like a scourge on the face of the earth, that sort of thing. The problem is that there's no education, whether it be in terms of general probability for kids at school for a starting point, in terms of bank management, financial and fiscal responsibility. There's none of that promoted in daily society anymore. It's just a whole bunch of people who just like jump up and down when
you're on fire for that, Peter.
It's just, you just get fucking sick of it after a while. But it's part of the problem.
The most is like Chris Reeves writes the article. If he's going to hit anything, hit Victoria up about their whip rule obsession.
Yeah.
That is the biggest piece of noise that ever was. Jockeys wear metal spikes on the back of their heels that they dig into a horse's ribs. Which would hurt you more?
Yeah, exactly. And like I've talked to a friend in the UK who's a big racing person over there, and he said, I said to him when I started to go on Dicko with the yard, you know, well, what do you make when you see a jockey wear spurs over in the UK? And he goes, mate, like that's so like that if that happened over here, there'd be a riot. Like, they just don't wear spurs. So exactly case in point that there's other bigger deals that should be looked into as, you know, the whip, a safety thing.
Everyone writing and talking about and trying to change the rules is more aware of their purpose in racing than you and I are. Like, they just treat us all like fucking idiots.
Yeah.
It's more so like spend a day at the races and see what the actual process is with these journalists. Like, I'm sure if he could, I feel like Damien Ratcliffe is a good, you know, young up and coming journalist. And you know, if he could spend the day, probably he'd get amongst it. And that's what I encourage, like, journalists, you know, if you can, go to the stable, see how these things operate. Don't just write shit that is just spun around.
I think the responsibility more falls on the administrators. Like, someone just to say, look, the whip's a tool to steer the horse. Here, I want you to watch 5 head-ons at Flemington on Saturday, and you can see when the whip's used in the right hand, the horse can veer to the right. Therefore, it needs to be able to be changed and put in the left hand to keep the horses straight, so we don't have collisions, we don't have horse fatalities, and more so jockey fatalities. Like, it's common sense. It's a steering mechanism, therefore a safety mechanism.
Yeah. And the thing with the whip is, it's like being proven. There's videos online of it being proven that you can, like, these things, they don't. Like, you could whip a human with it, and it, like...
Yeah, there's a bloke on this show right now today who I'm convinced wouldn't mind being whacked by one by a certain... Everyone has looked at you, Pete.
What? I wasn't listening, sorry. Tuned out.
It's a bit of a stretch to call anything that comes out of Sydney journalism. It's paid content, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, that article was embarrassing, let's face it. I mean, it was quoting a letter with no source attached. That was blending the lines of, you know, opinion, puff piece, classic sort of. Yeah, I mean, we've seen the amount of gutter journalism over the last week with the election. It's been, like, case in point. They would be impressed with some of that spin that was being attempted in that article.
I probably should preface a few of my comments there. Like, I get a bit carried away. I'm just getting old and cynical, and like, I'm fucking tired of the narrative that's being pushed from Sydney into the rest of the country, because basically my underlying decision is I'm wagering first. I don't care for racing like as much as I used to. Nowhere near it. Completely over it. I'm a wagering enthusiast, not a racing enthusiast. So what I would like to see, and it flows down, is that the people that do bet, you know, can bet, you know, doesn't the cost of doing business to come down to increase turnover, which therefore flows on to participants to race for more money, consistent money, and and make sure it maintains a vibrant racing industry. I still need, even though I'm mainly a wagering person, I still need the racing industry to be vibrant. And the more divisive that the messaging coming out of New South Wales they're just trying to throw shade over other jurisdictions, which affects the whole industry. For all those issues we've discussed today about whip and horses dying and all that shit. It'd be great to see them all come together and try and work for the betterment of the sport.
The points that we're trying to argue and hope we are getting across about making wagering more of a fair and juicy playing field, it's going to benefit us, yes, 100%. But those benefits belong to every single person in the industry.
Yeah. The deaths of these international horses, like the authorities just have to look into, like the head bodies just need to, how much money do they have? And this is only for the good of their sport going ahead, is that they invest some money, they put some proper research into this, work out what's happening, because it's not happening with I can't tell you the last time, like in the Cup, I can't remember the last local horse to pass away in the Cup or have to be euthanized.
Oh yeah, which horse is actually local? None of them are local, really.
No, there was plenty in it. There's always a handful in it, and why they're always the far inferior horses that, like the local ones. So you think maybe they're not going to be as good. They might not get the trip, whatever. But like, why are they not? There's something here.
I'd say speaking of, I'm not sure whether you noticed the finish of the Oaks. Like, a few of those trainers that ran those horses should be given a kick in the fucking ass for running horses that could not. There's no way they could have run the trip. They were coming in at 6s and 7s there over the course of that race, and I think that's an issue as well. There could have easily been one of those horses just dropped dead because they were gone at the 600.
But that
pulled out of the
responsibility is not on the like whoever, like the Racing Australia, whoever does it that says this is the trip. The responsibility is on the trainer.
Exactly what I said.
I cut out. Sorry. But
yeah.
If we change the distance of the classic races, that would yet again be appeasing the breeders. The reason why we don't have competitive horses over those trips anymore is because we don't breed for them. Is that not?
I don't really care, to be honest. Fucking, this is another race to bet in for me. We'll do the form on, and you know what?
But
horses break down just the same way that footballers get injured, except they can recover from it. Horses with the makeup that they are, they can't. Especially leg injuries.
You should be heavily fined for making a horse go around a 3-year-old, a filly, 3-year-old filly, or in the Derby. There was the same. There's a few that were pulled up. You should be heavily fined if they're pulled up, I reckon, because that's.
Yeah, if all the racing eyes are going to be on Flemington over Cup week, and we want to, enforce these, the scanning, whatever it was they were going to do for the Cup runners, you can't just do it for the Cup.
No.
Yeah. They were all vetted in the lead up to the Cup, but not every horse was scanned for logistical reasons, I believe. So whether or not they need to go towards using an MRI/CT before they get on a plane and going through to see if there's any structural abnormalities, because clearly there is a significant anatomical difference between overseas international bred horses and Australian bred horses, just purely in terms of long-standing genetics and also how they're brought up and what they're racing on over there and how they're running around in general. Josh, the last Australian horse to break down was Dulcify in the Melbourne Cup, and that was in 1979.
I just think there's something, maybe correlation and causation, but obviously there's a low sample, but there's something in it. Yeah. And like you said,
it's such a shit job to try and figure it out.
Yeah.
But it can be, there was a research done recently and it was completely flawed. I can't remember who did it, but I saw it on Twitter and it was just a waste of time. You need to get some, this industry should be using data-driven results. This should be, it staggers me that there is no, for the welfare of the horse, there's no heart rate tracking things or anything like that with such a sophisticated technology industry, world. And the industry should go up. And this is a different thing. This is the wagering from the weekend, but it just shows like the tab went down, the whole place went down. Why is the whole industry so reliant on tab? Make something that's like just robust. If you're going to let them control the whole thing, just they probably don't deserve it if they took 2 days down of the whole of one of the biggest racing days on the calendar in the last stakes day. But yeah, like you need to drive more technology through this industry. The money is going. There's so much money in it that it just has to go into technology for all these reasons, for the racing welfare and for wagering as well.
They're just lucky
On
it
a
happened.
positive note, he's a purebred Victorian, Lloyd Williams, and fuck me, isn't he a freak?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to the racing now. Actually, we'll start with the Derby. We'll basically run through each of the key races. We'll just do it briefly because this feels like it happened a year ago, almost, the Victoria Derby. Dicko, have you recovered yet?
No, it doesn't. No, I haven't. No, it doesn't.
Okay. It was a slowly run race.
Fuck me.
Yeah. Slowly run race. Can we take anything out of it whatsoever outside of the fact that the horse was in the right spot?
The race was just the absolute disgrace.
Josh, 2,500 metres, slowly run. Do you have any confidence that any of these horses are legitimate stayers or even middle distance horses?
So we saw a warning come out of it last year. It's gone there's about 11-point turnaround on the all benchmark punting form figures. The year before was Extra Brute, which went negative 14.7 on the all benchmark figure. Yep. This year it went 4.7. Good turn of foot in the last 600. But still, they should be going much better than that for Group 1 horses that have gotten a slow pace. I wouldn't be following much out of the race. It was a weird, weak derby. You looked at it on paper, I think, pre-race. You weren't really saying this is going to be a strong derby. Like the Oaks was far better. We had some nicer ones, but it was slim, like the Oaks. But I wouldn't be following much out of the race.
Well, even comparing it with the Wakeful over 2,000 metres on the same day, the leader in the Wakeful has gone roughly 18 lengths faster than the leader in the Derby. So it was a barrier trial. They were hacking along at 14 plus second sectionals, and it was really just an awful watch unless you were associated with the winner, and that's what it's all about. We'll jump to the Cup and Cup Day.
Let's hope Dennis sells that horse for his own, as much as he shits me. If I was Dennis, I'd sell it.
Sell it.
They're probably going to get stacks for it, and it's not going to win much more.
Yeah.
And now, it's literally cast because it'll be rated so highly because it won a Group 1.
Yeah.
Don't Hong Kong only buy Queensland Derby winners?
Tweeted that several times. Hong Kong is the lowest racing jurisdiction I've laid eyes on. Johnny Get Angry could be sold over there and win a Group 1.
So is Classique Legend going to come last in the sprint next month?
The more horses that go to Hong Kong, the better, because it's less I'll have to do form on over here.
All right, Cup Day and the Cup itself. Everyone's obviously said how good a rider it was from Group 1 Jive. They've gone absolutely brutal in it. 16.7 lengths fast to the 600. For the class, it's still 9.5 lengths fast to the 600. It's just an enormous performance. Credit to Drew. He suspected that Twilight Payment would be a strong improver. He put it second pick, and there it was, saluting at 20 plus.
Who's that shit me? I barely read that. I just missed it, and I backed that other international that was going to be on the speed, just as a saver kind of thing. I should have had it on this. Fucking shit me.
Yeah. Tiger Moth, Josh, what did you make of its run? We spoke about it a little bit earlier, but I mean, where does it go to from here?
I think they've already announced it's coming back again next year. Obviously, it's not going to be nearly as well in at the weights again. That was its chance. Yeah, I feel like Greg Carpenter gave this horse a very light penalty. He just wanted it to be in there. I think they gave it 1.5 kilo penalty after it won its Leopardstown race lead up.
Yeah.
It was very impressive. But yeah, like I said at the start of the show, Twilight Payment ran last year, ran pretty poor. I watched its replays coming into this race and thought, shit, this thing's won nice, but it didn't have any strong form lines, I thought. Was very interesting. I thought Chosen One was super for a track that was rock hard. Like that thing wants a wet track, and that's what sort of steered me out of it. I know it can stay the trip, but New Zealand, just typical mutter. Persan, unbelievable. Mar and Eustace, just like they're airborne. Like what they've done with this horse.
And how long it's been up for as well.
I saw this horse was Glind sometime last year, and now it's run, 5th, like 10th, 11th up into its maiden. Like it's just won its maiden at the start of the prep. Yeah, it was super. Like Mick D gave it a pretty good ride from where it was drawn. So very elegant, was super again. Like she was just really good from the back. I don't know if she was like run of the race sort of a thing for me. There with Persan and Prince of Iran.
What are we doing?
Weird betting on surprise. Yeah, surprise baby. Massive go. Like this was one of those.
It was like favorite.
It did. I think it did. I think it was $6 Betfair SP.
Yeah, $5.96.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like this was like the same as Dragonette in like the Cox Plate, and you were like, oh shit. And I was watching it in the run, and I saw it sort of have Camelot's back coming into the straight, and I thought, oh boy, here it comes.
Yeah,
and if I'd known the
out there like us who were just watching the exchange like till the death, you were just waiting for them to pick one of these internationals and just crunch it again.
Yeah.
And they started to like nibble surprise baby. They did it in such a smart way. The guys who were backing it, they just did it in little incremental little snips, and then they went, yeah, fuck it, this thing's the one, and bang.
But why were they taking that price? Like it just. I don't know.
Well, look, it was the first race that the massive units got it wrong of the big 3 spring races.
Yeah, and I guess Tiger Moth was also really firm late. I mean, it was $6.57.
Yeah.
It was, $9 a couple of days prior. So
also props to young Joseph for beating his old man twice now.
Yeah.
Aiden's still looking for his first cup, and his son's beaten him twice now on what would you say probably inferior horses compared to what Aiden's had in the cup.
Well, hopefully it's just like Frankie and he never wins one, and it'll just be great. We can just sit back and just laugh at him for the entire of his life.
It'll be a thing like lay Aiden back Joseph in the cup.
Yeah. The other race we have to talk about on Cup Day it wasn't really a race. It was more just the ride on joviality from J-Mac, and then the subsequent lack of investigation from the stewards.
Well, what did they actually do, the stewards? Because they should have investigated it thoroughly. Because he's got a history, and the horse drifted, and the ride was awful. I don't think he did anything deliberately untoward, but just with that setup on that day, it needs to be investigated. Wasn't it?
I think those horses drift. They're the ones that people are taking on anyway in the market. Weird at Flemington. You usually see that sort of thing at Caulfield. But yeah, I agree as well that the ride was questionable when coming around the bend, that he decided to stick to the inside rather than he knows that there's 20 lanes down Flemington Straight and you're going to get a run. Just weird that he didn't go to the outside, I thought.
Yeah.
In terms that's another bum on the seat that comes out of those inflated the inflated opinions of Sydney jocks when they come down and ride against, competitive riders. Takes them time to adapt. We've seen the great man from the West took him a little bit of time to adapt.
Yeah.
Big prize money, competitive riding. They're not all mates sitting in the jockey's room, making sure we all get home safe. Well, there's a run there for you, brother. Let me just ease out here. And all that shit that goes with it.
Yeah. No, it was disappointing at best, I think, from across the board, that ride and the way it was handled afterwards.
Yeah, what was more disappointing for me personally, and everyone getting my stuff, was the pretty large bet we had at Mystic Journey at like 440, which started 270 on the fair, and he lost momentum in the middle stages just by falling asleep, and then couldn't sort of get out and get going. That was I thought the worst ride on the day because I wasn't on Joviality.
Yeah, that was on Derby Day, but that's all right. We'll allow.
Do we need questions every time? Like, do we just is there times where it's just he's half missed the start, he's gone back and ridden for luck and didn't get any? If he gets all the luck, is he a genius?
Yeah, well, like it's the same race.
Or is that its racing pattern and it should be going? You do expect him to build momentum and get to the outside and give it every chance.
Yeah, I agree with you, Curly, because the same race, Ollie was on one as well that was in the market that was drawn barrier 1, same sort of ride, never out, probably should have won. But because it was drawn barrier 1, no one cared.
I understand that. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think his ride was. I think they make split second decisions and he fucked it up because he's not as good as everyone thinks. Like they're all pretty good, you know, but they're all going to make mistakes.
Human.
Well, if I was a jockey, like a big jockey, and I was going to pull a horse up, I wouldn't do it at Flemington on Derby Day.
Fuck no. I'm not suggesting any of them were pulled up at all. I'd say it was a bad ride.
It's just racing padding, and there was a lot of horses on the outside. So maybe he did think that maybe from his point of view in that race, he thought the inside was going to be clearer. He thought everything was going to the outside.
Yeah, maybe he didn't think his horse was that good. Like he needed to cut the corner, like Hugh did on Hugh did it on the on Saturday with Pondus race and True Self maybe.
Yeah.
Well, he rode for complete luck and almost got brought down doing it. But he thought I need to cut the corner to beat this horse, and then
it was sort of like
and won.
It was sort of like Dragonette in the Cox fade as well. And I saw some discussion on Twitter. Is would you rather have that higher variance ride? Sorry about the word variance, but that is literally the proper definition of it. But like you're literally riding for luck when you'd rather just you want to sit 1-1 and just peel out and But the chance of getting 1-1, what is that chance of getting the 1-1?
Yeah.
Or would you rather just be a smart ride and cut the corner and be absolutely brilliant or an absolute idiot when you get it run by the public?
I'm going the half tactics. If I was a rider, I'd ride like boss.
All right.
Yeah.
Like it. We'll jump to Oaks Day. We'll have a look at the Oaks. Is it as simple as saying that the favourite was exposed on a fast tempo 2,500 as opposed to being able to produce at 2,000 metres on a fast tempo?
I thought that the ride was very, very good. If the horse was as good as the market thought it was, I thought it was, it would have just won. I think they went a bit quick and, it was exposed and Salto Angel would have beat it, but Ollie fucking Peach on like one of the stronger rides of the carnival.
Definitely.
Just timed it and then just got over its neck.
She's gone.
Ride. That I haven't actually looked at the data from that race yet, but it looked to me like they went pretty strong. And
since 2014 on the data on the finish all benchmarks, the final all benchmark. That's gone -5, better than any other Oaks in recent years. Lasquetti Spirit being the other. They went a mad pace in that race. She was 120 to 1 on the SP to 120 to 1. So take it with probably a grain of salt. Last year, Miami Down went -8.4 with the genuine tempo set. But
I think the Derby, if they had done the same tempo, Hit the Shot would have been like personal and run over top of Young Werther.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel better about doing my cash because I let it all ride.
I was in a coma after backing Salto Angel.
Oh, it wasn't a
Salto race.
It just looked like it was wanting the trip. It was going to stay that trip.
Yeah.
But, Ben Mellon gave it the best, great ride as well. So
hindsight being a wonderful thing, and you look at Montefilia and, it won those Group 1s in Sydney. What did it have left in the tank coming here? Was it over grand final?
The lesson out of it, Curly, is that these the horses that are backing up go better. Miami Bound did it last year. A bunch of them were recently raced last year. It seems to be the profile at the moment. The big break was a negative that I underestimated.
I think it's with some of these younger horses well into their second prep. I think it's a factor of how many runs they've had in that prep. I think Montefiore might have had 1 or 2 more runs, whereas Personal was sort of like rock hard fit. Probably thought like the Wakeful was going to be maybe her peach run, but clearly backed it up. And I think that form around the Wakeful, I'll just say, is that Victoria Key horse looks pretty damn impressive. I think McAvoy's, isn't it? So
yeah, because when you go back in hindsight, it was a beautiful little ride and run in the Wakeful for Personal. Like I was on Personal there, and I thought we were home about 300 because he was just nursing it. But it wasn't a complete gut buster. It's just like a nice run, then let down as hard as you can. Freshen up.
Do we know why Star L didn't go to the Oaks?
No, I don't, actually. I was on too at $51.
Very interesting.
Because it had that sort of Salto Angel form line with a better SP, so yeah.
Yeah, thought that was going to be its grand final.
And yeah, Brian didn't have a winner all carnival, I don't think.
After last year, he had a complete fill-up, didn't he?
Yeah.
The other point from Oaks Day was, Willie Pike got out in the last with Written Beauty, but I just not so much wanted to reflect on that horse as opposed to how we thought Pike went overall. Given his time in Victoria, he's won 2 listed races, 2 Group 3s, 2 Group 2s and 2 Group 1s. Success?
Yes. He was off the canvas because everyone on this Zoom call right now, probably except for Pistol, because he's loyal as fuck.
He hates him.
We all potted him. We said he's gone. He's not up to it. His clock set at Western Australian time. He copped it all. He did.
I think that
to get off the canvas the way he did and win those races that he did, I reckon, like, huge performance. He could have easily tossed it in. He was down and out. He was getting sprayed from every angle of the media, and he's come back and.
I think he sat on a lot of good horses. He was entitled to win what he won. He's a good rider, a competent rider, but he's not like an elite rider over here. He's at least a B or a C grader. He was exposed badly at Moonee Valley, suited at Flemington, and rode great Caulfield Guineas Day. Like rode really well, but like. Even the horses he won on, like Dirty Work and that, like he got back to last on that horse, and sort of 7 times out of 10 at Caulfield, he's not winning. Doesn't matter if it's on winks. But that day at Caulfield was fair, and he read the races perfectly at Caulfield that day. He's a very good rider, but I don't think he's A grade.
Yeah, and almost certainly he'll return to Perth just in time to like nail me in probably a couple of different multis or features or something like that I've got going for a stack. So. I'm on Team Death Ride trekking. We'll go to the Mackinnon. Speaking of Pike, he obviously elected to go home so he could quarantine, so he can ride in the Railway Stakes, which meant that he gave up the ride on Arcadia Queen. And
this is not one of the worst decisions like ever made.
No.
I fucking living certainty to win a big Group 1 at Flemington on Cup Week. He just had to hold on. That's all that Curry had to do, just sit on it.
Yeah, she was a certainty, but at the same time, it was a case of, I think Pike every year views the Ascot Carnival, the 3 Group 1s in 3 weeks, and he probably won't rest easy until he's won all 3 in 1 year, because that's just the way it is. So I think for him, it meant more to take a chance with the unknown horse in the Railway, whoever it might be, than it did to just get the job done on Arcadia Queen once more. And she would have really just been wondering where all the tempo was in this race. They've gone very slow for the class.
Fair to remember would have won this race by 4 lengths or something, wouldn't it?
1.7. It was a 1.7 length better performance, Fair to remember, versus Arcadia Queen. But yeah, if there was one certainty of the entire carnival on a good 3, I think it was her.
I do like that Pike's gone back. It shows he's probably a pretty good bloke. You know, he's that sort of bloke. If he played for Australia and like New South Wales, he'd still, once that's finished, go back and play club cricket.
Yeah.
Just help him get the premiership. Whereas like a lot of them would just be off. Well, especially if they're from Perth, they'd be off in Bali, wouldn't they, Pete?
I think it's pretty harsh. I think you're harsh on him, Jackie, because you only rate Ollie in Victoria. You don't rate anyone else, and you're saying
I rate Zara, Ollie, and Williams. And maybe Mellum as the top sort of 3 or 4 in no particular order. And then I'd have Pike as the next sort of level down.
Just touching on the Mackinnon, I think that was probably the weakest one for a long time. On the data, it went negative 5.8 on the all. And then the last sort of couple, Magic Wands was negative 15, Trap for Fools was negative 10 even, negative 13 for the Goat, Dose and Stardom. And it just like completely, it looked like that sort of on paper.
Yeah.
It sort of didn't really tick to me in my head that Arcadia Queen was a living certainty. And so I bet around it. 50 stars I thought was the peach setup, got stuck 3 wide and it was massive, but slow
right
pace.
Play going
really
back,
good.
it's just 4 units Arcadia Queen, 1 unit 50 stars. It's the only fucking
Yeah. If you reprice it, it's just like it just had the right form line. It's just such a weak race. Melody Bell didn't have the soft ground that it probably really wants, does it?
Arcadia Queen just has that elite turn of foot. Like when she beat Russian Camelot, it was a walk.
Yeah.
It was a walk.
Yeah.
She'd won this race at the top of the straight. She gets to like that -4 section just with underwriting, whereas the other horses need to be encouraged to get to that. She's a freak.
Mm.
And she was very, 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 very good in the Cox Plate.
Yeah. Big shout out to Grant Williams, who's been over in Victoria for the entire time. He's probably finally just starting to get back into Perth now. So, but to shift all the horses over, to win 2 Group 1s and win a whole heap of other races with horses going amiss and without any of his family there, I think that's an enormous effort for the camp and just shows how good Grant and Alana Williams are as trainers in WA.
Yeah, agreed. And if they drew a few barriers in some of the other races and were able to settle a pair or two closer, they probably pinched like 2 or 3 more.
Exactly. Don't mention Superstorm. All right, we'll just also touch on Giveaway. It just completely crushed that field. Sounds like it's going over to England potentially for a run at Ascot. Noise, but
how does Bossy get fined for standing up in the Cox Plate and doesn't get fined? He was patting his horse with 50 metres to go. He was patting.
Yeah. So the technicality was he had both hands on the reins, so that was okay.
At the 500, he was dead set looking around.
I did say it. I was concerned about. I was almost pressing the leg, just thinking about shit. Is he going to fall off here?
If a salt man was up the top, there would have been Banco or like.
Anyway, that was Cutway. Dickens, we just lost your visual, so I don't know if that means your internet's great. Oh no, it's good. All right, Kels, quickly run us through. I don't know. You've already mentioned some of the lowlights from Queensland. Was an actual highlight up there?
There's a couple of nice horses Saturday at Doomben. Let me just bring this up because I was looking at the data. I was just looking at Hayes Dabenig's stats over the week. Geez, they had a good week, didn't they?
Went huge.
Like
they're sort of under, first time out on their own. Pretty good effort. And if Arcadia Queen wasn't here, we would have won another Group 1.
Yeah.
Probably
4 on 50 stars because can't draw a gate in the big races, can it?
Sure. A couple of interesting ones out of Saturday. Command and Conquer, obviously, pocket talk here. That was super. It didn't explode late once it got warmed up. I'm not sure whether you watched the race, but its last section was very good. He was sort of half on one rein most of the straight, and then when James Orland was able to balance him up, he really flew. He'll be a serious contender in the summer. I'm sure of that. Grand Zoo it melted the clock up to the mile. It's led and pissed in and ran time as well. It's gone very good. A couple of earlier races, Isotope. I'm not sure whether you tuned in there, but it sort of missed the start a long way and rattled late. It's in for a decent summer as well. So we just saw some good horses resuming here that will be, factors over the summer carnival as Queensland hopefully opens their borders for Magic Millions week.
How about this horse? Fine is the power. How many times did we back that, Dicko?
Yeah, well, I was on the phone to Curls, just as he was sending that out. And Josh and I are a victim of this horse, Curls, many a time.
It's a nice horse.
When I was a Victorian, so I thought, fuck it, today's our day.
I think it got a better
more
ride.
on than I should have.
Yeah, got a better ride. the race run to suit. The ride on really discreet sort of did help. He had to go back a mid-race move on really discreet, which left him a sitting shot late, and which was suitable for Thine Is the Power.
Yeah.
Uninterrupted from 600 and it's too strong, holding off the Cosmo. So both of those three horses have all looked to have come back pretty well, and I'm sure they'll really discreet will be winning a race this prep for sure.
Guys, quickly some viewer questions before we go. I've got to go. Each way punting. Do you bet each way? If so, why? Why not? Sometimes I get frustrated when I have something at big odds run second and get no return. But then other times I'll launch each way at something paying 12s and 3 and won't get the place and it's a strip. Pros and cons to doing both. Which do you guys do? I'll go first and then I'm going to get going, guys. I don't bet the place. I think for your mental health, you just need to pick one way or the other and stick to it and never even think about it again. Because like the last 3 weeks, the movers bets, I'd be pretty rich if I backed them each way probably. Because I'm backing horses at sort of $8 to $10 that keep running second. But I think you just got to pick which way you want to go. And I don't think there's a lot of value in the place market. So that's another reason why I don't.
Just keep it simple. Just don't give yourself any other reason to question yourself or doubt yourself. So if you know that you only bet wins, well, that keeps things very simple from a betting point of view. I know some people only bet places for similar reasons.
Yeah, it's only a matter of being consistent. I know plenty of people that bet each way because they think that if I think it's overs the win, well, it's overs the place as well. I know people that bet win only. Where you will grow yourself up is where you pick and choose, because invariably you'll get it wrong. So choose one way or the other.
Yeah. Only recommendation is probably just work on your stake. If you're going to be a place punter and a win punter, work on your staking. Don't be just each way because it's the stupidest thing ever. And if you're going to follow it, put it in a spreadsheet or something. I know we talked about it before, but the education around punting is big. Putting things in tracking in a spreadsheet is always good. Put it against, a column, just simple. Place, I had $10 on that, $5 on the win, whatever it is. But just keep a track of it. And if it's no good, even do it with fake money for now. I know I wouldn't recommend trying something with fake money, but just put it in a spreadsheet. Put it in a spreadsheet and see if it works. Sometimes Dicko calls me and says, "Hey, next up movers, how do they go, etc." How does the place punting go on movers? And there's there could be a bit of manual entry work, but there's a lot of resources out there that you can find place odds. You can find what you would have taken. You find how much you've had on, and see if that works for you. It's just another strategy that you could try. But
once you pick it, I'd stick to it for a fair while because you'll just grow yourself up.
And keep it tight. So, if you're only place backing for things over $6, only do that or whatever works. Break it down, see what works for you.
All right, I've got to go.
Yeah, all right. Signing off probably for the year. We might see you once more. We don't know. Unlikely.
See.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll see you on track soon, Josh.
Yeah.
Friday night.
I'll come down your way soon.
We can hear jump.
Yeah, Roscoe will lose his shit.
Oh, can't wait. Young Street, Ross,
sausage rolls, spring rolls, the shallot.
He won't be happy too, because when we do get back to the Valley like this Friday night, I don't reckon all the food trucks will be there.
Yeah, true.
There won't be like serve.
I reckon it'll be in the next. We got 2 weeks until the next thing's open. I reckon we'll be in that.
The steel ring has been lifted, Josh. The steel ring has been lifted.
Yeah, but not the fucking gates to the Golden Gates of Moonee Valley. It's going to be a great. You know what?
The Flemington. Every fucking person who's ever written or spoken about racing for an organisation was on track except us.
You know what? I can't wait for just driving up the Moonee Valley, that entrance, and it's just
seeing the big Ladbroke sign.
Their heavens and the lights beaming down. Terry Bailey's up there on the top of the stand.
Sit in the grandstand, city in the background, glorious. Sun's just setting.
Yeah, just a night.
Bloody good.
We'll be back.
Indeed. Great 2020, guys.
Lay the coffin.
Yes. Great year all round. Curls, you and I are going to still be keeping the thing going. I think we've got carnivals and stuff coming up, so
Yeah.
We'll be betting the house down.
I'll still be betting. We're betting at Bendigo on Wednesday, punters. Just not as many shows for a little bit to freshen up. Anyway, I've got to go. She's looking at me. She's not happy. I love you. Thanks for you. Bye-bye.
Yep.